Hey everyone, today on People Now, Kevin Hart speaks out about why he is staying loyal to Ellen DeGeneres and Nick Cannon in the wake of controversy.
Joe Manganiello has a message for fans who want him to return for another installment of Magic Mike.
Kamala Harris explains how she plans to tell Joe Biden when he's wrong and more as the Democrat presidential ticket gives their first joint interview in a People exclusive.
One of our favorites, music icon Brandy, reveals how her daughter saved her. It's this week's People cover story.
Also today,
my wife was a gift to me. I had 16 years with.
Matt Mauser shares how he's honoring his wife's legacy after she died in the same helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant.
All that and much more today on People Now. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome to People Now. Hope you're having a good Wednesday so far. I'm Andrea Boehlke. Nice to see you, Jeremy. Like the shirt, pretty loud. It's a look.
It's Friday, or it's a flower day apparently between the two. Little floral patterns galore. I don't know. I felt like I got to get it in before summer's over.
No, I do like it. No, it's good.
August.
You texted this morning, decided to wear flowers. No,
Wow, unbelievable. The most response I've ever had from a shirt from you. Thank you. I take all of that as a very good compliment, I think. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
hey
we have a
guys,
lot to get to today.
There is a lot to get to besides our wardrobe. Here's what you need to know and what's trending. In a new interview with Deadline, Kevin Hart is explaining why he's standing by his friends Ellen DeGeneres and Nick Cannon amid their public controversies, saying they are, quote, two of the most amazing people that he knows.
DeGeneres and the producers of her popular daytime talk show have been called out over recent weeks for fostering a toxic work environment, resulting in apologies from the host herself and firings behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Cannon apologized to fans in July after making anti-Semitic remarks during a recent podcast episode.
Hart himself was called out for making homophobic comments back in December of 2018, resulting in him issuing an apology and stepping down from hosting the 2019 Oscars. He explains to Deadline that while others might not, he honors his friendships in the entertainment industry because he knows how lonely it can get at times. He adds, quote, "These are times when people just turn their back on you."
He goes on to say that in entertainment, there are a lot of fake relationships. And for that reason, he's always going to be adamant about speaking on behalf of people he has real relationships with. In the interview, Hart also acknowledges that he can only speak to his own experiences with DeGeneres and Cannon and says that he isn't taking away from what others are saying about their experiences.
All right, guys, Pink is embracing her body and what she calls her thunder thighs. On Tuesday, the singer posted an action shot of herself wake surfing with an empowering message about body acceptance in her caption. She writes, "I always wondered why God gave me thunder thighs. It's because he knew I'd use them." She added a number of hashtags after that caption, including strong is my goal and joyful.
Pink has never been shy about spreading body positivity. In January of this year, she spoke about accepting her appearance in a candid note to self that she shared on Twitter. That read in part, quote, "Dear me, you're getting older, I see lines, your nose is getting bigger, you look and feel weird as you get used to this new reality." And she went on, "But your nose looks like your kids, and your face wrinkles where you laugh."
And amid those changes, Pink says she will never go under the knife or get Botox. She explained it this way, quote, "Every once in a while you consider altering your face. Then you watch a show where you want to see what the person is feeling and their face doesn't move." She added, "I cannot get behind it. I just can't."
She also said that she wants her kids to, quote, "know what I look like when I'm angry." She's a mama too, sharing 9-year-old daughter Willow and 3-year-old son Jameson with her husband, Carrie Hart. She has a great attitude about all of this, and she's also a great role model for her kids and for other people because they look up to her and they see that she's really embracing her inner beauty.
In a People exclusive, Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden and his pick for vice president, Kamala Harris, sat down with People for their first joint interview. In this week's issue, the Democratic running mates open up about the audacity of their partnership and the modern family mindset they will bring to the White House.
Kamala Harris is making history as the first Black person and the first person of Asian descent to join a major party's presidential ticket. She tells us, quote, "I was absolutely and remain so excited about our partnership and all the potential of our country that has yet to be achieved."
When asked what kind of vice president she plans to be, Harris tells us she plans on telling Biden when he's wrong, adding, "I'm going to be the last one in the room, there to give him honest feedback. Being vice president to Joe Biden, to me, means supporting his agenda and supporting him in every way." During our conversation with the running mates, Biden also shared a sentimental story about his family that involves People magazine. Years after his first wife and infant daughter tragically died in a car crash in 1972, and after he remarried his current wife, Jill, in 1977, he allowed People to interview his sons. He tells us, quote, later, the reporter called and said, I asked about their stepmom, Jill Biden, and they said, we don't have a stepmom, we have a mom and a mommy. Biden clarified, saying Jill is mom. It's a really heartwarming story.
And Harris says that is one thing she and Biden have in common. She tells her stepchildren not to call her stepmom. Instead, they call her Mamala. Very clever. She says that they're a very modern family, adding that she and Biden both agree, quote, family in every version that it comes, in every shape and size and method that it comes, it's family.
Stay with us, guys. Later in the show, we'll get a behind-the-scenes look at the Zoom call that changed Kamala Harris's life when Joe Biden asked her to be his VP. Stick around for that.
Joe Manganiello may be known for his sexy movie roles, but underneath that rugged exterior beats the heart of a Dungeons and Dragons nerd. It's true.
Yeah, it is true. Growing up, he was really passionate about Dungeons and Dragons. In this week's issue of People, Joe reveals to us that he sometimes works as a writer and a consultant for Dungeons and Dragons to this day. Recently, he even auctioned off the chance to play the game with him for the Make-A-Wish Foundation and raised over $600,000. Really cool.
Most of his fans probably know Joe as his hip-thrusting Magic Mike character or from his bloodthirsty True Blood days, so this might come as a surprise. But he says that if you're doing your job right as an actor, people think you're that role.
He has some bad news for those fans, though. When asked if he would star in another Magic Mike one day, Joe declared, quote, I'm retired. And you can hear the collective no from fans.
Say it ain't so. Now, Joe has been sheltering at home in Los Angeles with his wife, Sofia Vergara. The couple will be celebrating their 5th anniversary in November, and it seems like they're closer than ever. Joe tells us that he knew pretty quickly that he could trust her, and she knew she could trust him. And he adds, quote, my instincts about her were right. Very sweet.
Even though he's spending a lot more time at home these days, Joe says he's actually been strangely busy, and in part with his new Netflix comedy, The Sleepover. It comes out this week. But as much as he's enjoyed the big choreographed fight scenes that you'll see in the movie, Joe admits to us, quote, doing stunts at 43, it's very different than it was at 33.
You can pick up a copy of this week's People for more with Joe Manganiello, and stick around because later in the show, we'll be catching up with Joe's co-stars from The Sleepover.
This week's People cover star is music icon Brandy, and she's opening up about her successes and struggles over the years. The one-time teen sensation tells us that she's been through so much, but now she's in a place where she can be proud of moving in the right direction.
And she credits her daughter, Sarah, for a lot of that. Brandy told us how her daughter saved her in one of her lowest moments when she was battling depression. Watch this.
I remember I was laying in bed and I was super depressed, you know, and I just was like, I heard myself tell myself, so you just gonna go out like this? Like this is how you're gonna, like, you know, go out? Like you have a daughter, if you can't do it for yourself, do it for her. Like, because this is not the way to basically leave a mark in her life. This would taint her, and she feels good to know that she's the inspiration for me, for everything that I am, everything that I'm about. And she always, you know, when I used to tell her, you know, if it wasn't for you, you know, I don't know where I would be in life. Like, I'm smiling because of you. I'm moving because of you. And she says, but it's for you too, Mom. It's for you too. She has always been my inspiration. Now a part of my purpose. So to come back to that when I'm going through my stuff, you know, is a blessing as well.
When Brandy was young, she appeared to have it all, a Grammy-winning music career and success as an actor. But she tells People that she struggled with that much fame at such a young age, explaining that she felt like making mistakes would, quote, let down everyone. Take a look.
I struggled for sure with fame and identity and being put in a box of perfection. And I felt like I didn't have the space to grow and to grow up in a safe way where, you know, me dealing with my own thoughts about myself. I had to deal with so many other opinions and thoughts about what I should do, how I should be, and what I should look like. And, you know, that can get tough when you're trying to find your own voice. But I was always able to come back to me nobody is perfect. That's not even something I try to be anymore. I just try to stay, centered and grounded and humble and creative, and I can't grow if I'm perfect. Nobody should try to be perfect. That's a prison in and of itself.
You can read more about Brandy in this week's People when it hits newsstands on Friday, and watch the People Cover Story full special streaming now on PeopleTV.
All right, stay with us. Singer-songwriter August Alsina is getting candid about his entanglement with Jada Pinkett Smith. Plus, after losing his wife in the same helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant, singer Matt Mauser opens up about how he's honoring her memory as he raises their 3 children without her.
In Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's first joint interview exclusively with People, Harris shares the Zoom call that changed her life when Joe Biden asked her to be the vice president.
Since we are still in a pandemic, Biden had to ask Harris to be his VP virtually. She tells us Biden and his wife Jill asked for Doug, Harris's husband, and that the 4 of them had an incredible conversation.
They then headed to Delaware the next day to visit Biden. Harris says that they spent the day with homemade chocolate chip cookies. Biden later called Harris's in-laws and surprised them with the news.
Harris tells us, this is the thing. Among the many things I love about Joe Biden, he said, let's call them. He separately called Harris's stepchildren to welcome them into the family.
Now, Biden and Harris went head-to-head during the primaries, so we had to know if they held on to any grudges from that time period. Biden tells us that he and Harris go a long way back, since she was friends with his son, Bo, who passed away in 2015. It was Bo's idea to have his father nominate Harris for the Senate, and Harris concurs that she got to know Biden through Bo.
She also says that Biden had the audacity to say he was going to have a woman as vice president. He didn't apologize for it. Biden adds that the government should look like the country. One of the best things is when you're raised and surrounded by women who are smarter than you. And I couldn't agree more.
Matt Mauser and his 3 children have been learning how to navigate through life after losing their wife and mother, Christina, who died 7 months ago in the helicopter crash that also killed Kobe Bryant and 7 others. Today, Matt is still haunted by that fatal morning.
I had slept late because I had a show the night before, and she came and kissed me goodbye. She kissed me and said, I love you. And I was so tired, I forgot. I didn't wake up. I didn't realize what would happen until she walked out their bedroom door, and I was like, oh, I'm too tired. I regret it. And I was getting ready, I was brushing my teeth, and I didn't receive a text from her, and I was like, oh, she always kept me abreast of everything, getting on, here, da-da-da. I didn't receive anything, and then my bandmate called with the news and was like, is Christina okay? And I just fell to the ground. It's like you can imagine, just the worst moment of your life.
Now, he and his 3 children, 12-year-old Penny, 10-year-old Thomas, and 4-year-old Ivy, are slowly moving into a place of healing, aided by the love and support from their family and friends.
I find myself having better days, and being able to kind of like get through it and to listen for her voice, listen for what she would say, and it comes. That's the beauty of being with somebody for 16, 17 years, is that what they would say and what they would want. And so I tried to honor what she would want. They all have different responses to grief. My daughter it's hard for her, like, transitioning. She has friends. So when she's with friends, it's like there's some sense of normalcy. And then when she comes back and then she realizes mom's not here, there's this transition from place to place when, that she just gets very sad, and my son, he gets it at night. He misses mom at night. And my 4-year-old, she was 3 when Christina passed. She was just trying to put everything together, just an understanding of everything. She was here, why isn't she here now? So we've celebrated all these birthdays, so I've just tried to show them that it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be vulnerable. And if you want to talk about something, let's talk about it. And it's hard because when they start talking, I start crying,
Matt Mauser wants to honor his wife's legacy as a coach, a mom, and a role model by starting the Christina Mauser Foundation, which will offer scholarships to young female athletes who are struggling financially.
And while the family is still very much in survival mode, he says they're getting there as they focus on finding joy in everyday life.
My wife was a gift to me. I had 16 years with this amazing human being who taught me more than anybody else. And Now I just have to be able to do that for my kids.
For more from Matt Mauser and his family, pick up the latest issue of People and watch the full episode of People Features Matt Mauser, streaming on PeopleTV.
In this week's issue of People, August Alsina is getting candid about his controversial entanglement with Jada Pinkett Smith. The R&B singer has always considered himself a private person, but earlier this summer, that all changed when he was caught in the middle of a media firestorm after he admitted that he and Pinkett Smith had a romantic relationship.
Alsina had befriended the Red Table Talk host and her husband Will Smith in 2015, and he shares with us why he could no longer stay silent regarding the infamous relationship. Watch this.
I really am a private person, you know? People have never known much of my personal business as it pertains to like my love life and all that. Because I just never think it's not important. My life got really tricky because my personal life started to seep into my business life. It started to affect my business affairs. Once I was able to step out of it, I could understand why it would look like, you know, I'm reckless or disrespectful or whatever, just pushing up on. It really started to affect my livelihood in a certain kind of way, and I'm never okay with that. I got 3 kids to look after, and I have myself to look after, and then it really becomes like, what am I actually hiding, right? So it's been interesting, to say the least, to deal with, because I've never seen a group of people so angry about something that doesn't directly affect their life.
Regarding the outside voices, Alsina says that he's never seen a group of people so angry about something that doesn't directly affect their lives.
Now he's focusing on himself and his 3 nieces. He has stepped in as a legal guardian after his late brother Melvin's fiancée Chandra passed away from cancer on Christmas Day in 2018. Melvin was shot to death in New Orleans. Alsina opened up about the 3 girls, 14-year-old Shaylin, 13-year-old Amaya, and 11-year-old Caden. Watch this.
I've been running wild ever since I touched down here. You know, getting to my kids, my nieces, they really keep me super busy. They really do. Like all throughout the day, I feel like I'm like kind of ripping and running. But you know, they have like super dope energy, and they are beautiful kids with beautiful energy.
And you can read more about August Alsina's infamous entanglement with Jada Pinkett Smith and how he's supporting his nieces in this week's issue of People. It's available on newsstands Friday.
Look, I'm not saying it's because of my mom we're in this situation, but I sort of am. Let's take it back to the beginning. Guys, ninjas just stole your parents.
Hello again, Matilda. Time to get the old band back together.
Honey, you know these two?
Woo! Did you see those moves? Pretty good. Malin Ackerman and Ken Marino star in Netflix's The Sleepover, streaming August 21st. The film follows a former high-end thief and her husband who get kidnapped and are forced to complete one last job. So now it's up to their kids to step in and save the day. And you saw that correctly. Malin and Ken did quite a bit of their own fighting, but it wasn't without a few minor injuries.
I chipped my tooth a little bit when I fake headbutted one of the guards. So that was fun.
Wait, which tooth did you chip?
It's one that's already been chipped a million times. My 2 front teeth are not fully my 2 front teeth.
I have a fake front tooth as well, so.
And they chip really easily. So it was just a tiny chip, but I felt it crack in my mouth, and luckily it wasn't enough to be visually distracting.
What happened?
I bit my own tooth as I headbutted. I guess I didn't practice that one enough. Yeah.
I got hurt a couple times. Yeah. The one time I had to accidentally hit a vase. The vase was sort of breakaway, but it wasn't really breakaway.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Is the vase breakaway?" And they said, "Yeah, it's breakaway." But they just sort of scored it, and it was just a regular really thick vase. So I went and hit it. I tried to hit it like it was breakaway, like I really committed to it, and it didn't break. It just busted up my hand. And then, so I think they have the shot where I hit it and I go, ah! That's legitimate.
Didn't they?
The director, Trish C., said her goal with the film was to plant the idea inside kids' heads that their parents have an entire identity beyond just being their parents. So I got the inside scoop from the cast about when they realized this.
I recently learned not only was my mom alive in the 80s, because I do not have a good concept of time, but her hair, which is now fairly standard, was much larger than I had ever known was possible. It was very long and it was huge, and it was all hers, and it stood, I mean, it would be out of frame.
I just recently learned that my parents met in the same building as my agency.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, did they meet? Were they meeting in the business, or it just so happened it was the same building?
It was the same building.
I guess for me, it's like whenever I meet my my parents' friends from when we were, younger, and they're like, "Oh yeah, your parents did this, or your mom did that," or it's just getting to know my parents in retrospect as an adult. I just go back to my mom all the time, and I'm like, "You guys are awesome! Like you guys moved all over the world with us, and I got to experience so many different cultures, and like." Who are you? Like, that's not easy. Like now that I'm an adult, I'm like, that's not easy to just move around and leave all your friends and go off and be some like bohemian. I mean, back in the day, I thought that was normal, but yeah. So getting to know your parents' decisions as an adult is enriching in many ways. You get to see them as like human beings. So that's something I love about this movie.
Yeah. What about you, Anuka?
Just being home last Christmas for the holidays, looking at some old photographs, I remember noticing my parents at parties, laughing, having a great time. And at the time, as a kid, you had no idea that your parents were probably a little drunk, or probably a little like, but when you see it as that, you're like, hey, wait a minute, how was that night for you?
I think I had the opposite experience, that my parents were always people. Especially my mom, it was sort of like I was the one who got to come into these people's lives. Like they didn't dote over me and go like, our life is you. My dad was a bit more so in the beginning, but I think it was always known, like they would do their thing and I'd be there with them doing their thing. Not doing their thing, but like just
not doing their thing.
Like having parties or whatever it was, or going out, if you go to restaurants, it was their life that I kind of got infiltrated in, so I could see them and their friends. And so it always felt like it was a seamless sort of transition. It was always kind of there, I guess, is my answer.
I mean, the only thing I can remember about my parents that might answer your question is like late at night when my parents put my sister and I to sleep, they would sneak out and go to this like midnight clown convention, and they would practice, clowning. And then they would do midnight, 12 to 8 in the morning. They would be in a circus, like a midnight circus. Is that sort of what you're?
Not expensive.
I can't tell if you're joking or not. Do they actually go to?
Seriously.
Without spoiling anything, Maxwell busts out some pretty epic dance moves in the film, so he told me all about it.
I know how to bust a move here and there, like bust a little move at a wedding or a bar mitzvah or something, but the worm is always my go-to move because it's just like, whoa! It's just a cool party trick, so only party trick I know, so.
I saw some of those other moves. I feel like you know a few party tricks.
Maybe, but no, I already knew the worm, and I learned it from Just Dance 4, so.
There you go. Makes me wonder everyone else's go-to party move. So let's start with Sadie. Do you have a go-to party move?
Go-to party move. I feel like when I'm at a party, you can definitely find me at like the snack table. I don't know. As far as dance moves go, I feel like my go-to is just to kind of bop to the music. I don't know. It depends on the vibe and who I'm with, what song is playing. You know what I mean? It's situational.
I think a safe move, which I always try to do, is I just hype up whoever's around me. So if it's like a friend that I came with, or if it's not, I'm just always like, what? What's that? What are you doing? And it's just, but like in a fun way.
I just take anything that's from like the back of my head. I just like find like, ooh, this dance move would go great for this song, or this dance move would go great with this song. You know, like Sadie said, it's like very situational.
Right,
but
you gotta feel the music, feel the vibe.
And I couldn't let them go without playing a fun sleepover edition of Never Have I Ever. Watch this. Have you snuck out at a sleepover? Okay, no people seeking out. Have you lied to your parents about whose house you were sleeping over at? I'm the only one that's done that?
We're lame. We're lame.
You guys are like really, yeah, you're good kids.
Remember, my parents will see this.
I did all the time. Did you do that, Carla, a bunch?
I did that, yeah.
Have you had ice cream or dessert for dinner?
Oh my God.
Yeah, like all the time. Yeah. Have you ever gotten in trouble at a sleepover and had to go home? Uh-oh.
Maybe not in trouble, but probably like homesick and like, Mom, come pick me up. Like when I was a kid.
Maxwell, you had to go home? What happened, Maxwell?
One of my friends and we were a little younger, but we got into a dispute over, I think it was the game where, you know, you have those red monkeys in the barrel and you like, chain, I don't know, something like, we were super young and we were fighting over that game. And I got really upset and I went home. But yeah, so that's the one story I have.
Have you ever played a prank on someone?
Yeah.
What kind of pranks comes to mind that you've done in the past, Anika?
I used to, around Easter, there was always that thing where you'd have, you take an egg and you put a pin in it and in the top and the bottom, and you blow the yolk out of the egg, and then you toss an empty eggshell to someone, and they think they're gonna drop an egg, and it's not. I mean, it's very, very minor.
I've never done that. That actually sounds pretty fun.
But it's like a lot of work for not much reward.
I was just gonna say, I'm like, is the payoff even worth it?
Like when you're 9, you don't think about it, but
you're like, I got you.
Do you have a go-to prank, Carla?
Oh gosh, go-to. So I did a bunch of pranks with we were like 45 cousins, and we would sometimes just vacation all of us together. So you can imagine that. We once were staying in a hotel that had a jacuzzi, and we wanted to put all of the shampoos that you get from the hotels. We took it to the jacuzzi and we started pouring all of the shampoos, and we didn't realize, like, before we knew it, it was just like everything was, and we ruined the jacuzzi, and we had to like literally wanted to like let us, kick us out of the hotel. They wanted to have our parents like pay for the damage. I mean, we broke the little, there was like these flamingos like that we would steal and put in our room, not a fake flamingos, that you sometimes you see in hotels. We'd, some bad stuff. I could continue for a long time with the stuff that we would do, but yes, I had a lot of those when I was young.
That sounds like a wild time. Wow. All right, with that, I'm out of time. That was amazing. Thank you all for joining us. Congratulations on the movie.
You have a good day.
Bye.
All right, coming up tomorrow, actor Peter Facinelli tells us all about his new thriller, The Vanished, and so much more.
Plus, Mark D'Ambrosio from the History series Alone is giving us the inside scoop on the 3-hour finale as this season's final survivalists battle it out. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.